People, 15th and 11th, welcome to Newspaper Breakdown. Lots of stuff to get through, including the only official bathing water area in the River Thames has failed tests for bacteria associated with sewage pollution, so don't go near the water. Even the places that were meant to be set for going in the water don't, because it's all covered in shit, because our country is covering us in shit. And there seemingly is no end to it. Every day you see more and more and more and more of water companies. And what gets me with the water companies is they've known these issues for years, and they're scared every time it rains. Every time it rains, that's what they blame it on. Oh no, did you know there was going to be this much water? You're a water company. You should be able to deal with fucking water. It is the minimum that you would expect. And of course, continual years of underfunding into infrastructure. Of course, their shareholders get all the fucking money. You've got no qualms about that, which is the argument for nationalising certain things. Water companies, rail, anything that we subsidise so that rich people get richer, we should nationalise. Seems fair. If you can't make money and give a good enough service on your own, you shouldn't be allowed to do it anymore. Other news, we've got over in America, we've got Rupert Murdoch has told Trump he will not back any attempt by Trump to return to the White House. Could even back a Democrat against him. This is owing to the poor showing from the Republican candidates backed by Trump during the midterm elections. Of course, as everyone heard, there was going to be a red wave, an absolute red wave, and there fucking wasn't. There wasn't a red wave. And so Murdoch, the thing with Murdoch is he likes a winner. He likes to back a winner because it makes him look all powerful. And the problem is, the fucker is all powerful. There is no winner here. If you recall when Gove interviewed Trump, his first interview since being president, I believe, Murdoch was in that room coaching Trump, which is another reason you always have to stay away from Michael Gove, because he's a dodgy piece of human waste. Him, along with many others, including the likes of Jeremy Hunt, are just puppets for Murdoch. Which is why, if you remember, that's jumped into the head. When Jeremy Hunt was culture secretary, he was texting James Murdoch about Sky's attempts to take over something. I can't remember what they were attempting to take over. So it may have been BT, something like that. I can't quite remember. But it was texting James Murdoch. They're all dodgy. You need to get rid of Murdoch. Who I'm not sure who's worse, Murdoch or Trump. You could argue Trump, but Trump isn't all. Trump isn't everywhere. Although giving him the nukes wouldn't be good and the power of America, but Murdoch is the one who changes the minds. Fox News and all of this, he's the one that changes the minds, and it shows. If he's willing to back a Democrat, he doesn't have an opinion himself. This isn't about him standing up for his principles. This is about him controlling you. That's it. His death will not come quick enough, and you could say that about a lot of people as well currently in this world. Speaking of parasites, MP George Eustace, the ex-environmental secretary, has said in the Commons yesterday that the flagship post-Brexit deal with Australia was not actually a very good deal, which is something that was mentioned by everyone who wasn't a Brexiteer at the time, and called for the resignation of Crawford Faulkner, who that's not a real name, that can't be a real name, the interim permanent secretary for the Department of International Trade, saying that Faulkner resented people who understood technical trade issues better than he did. Now, of course, George Eustace, he supported Brexit. And he said that since he has left his role as the environmental secretary, he no longer needed to place a positive gloss on the deal. just showing that MPs should not be trusted because they are not principled. They will say anything if they're told to. They're basically used car salesmen. That's it. They've got no principles of themselves. If he actually thought that this deal was wrong and this deal was awful, he should have been against it. But he wasn't. He stood up in the Commons and said it was a good deal. He said we needed it. And now he wants to get a bit of attention for himself, make it seem like he fucking cares, because now he doesn't have a job to worry about anymore. He's also claimed that he tried to make the deal better, which of course he did. Of course he would say that, wouldn't he? You know, it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault at all. It was everyone else's. I'm right all the time. I'm the fucking god. I'm the daddy. But these people, oh no, they're bad. They're bad. Fucking parasites, the lot of them. He claims that this deal that we've got with Australia, the same as the deal we've got with New Zealand, we give away too much and we don't get much return, which is true. They're both awful deals. Of course, Boris Johnson, who was the Prime Minister at the time, hailed the deal as Global Britain at its best, at which point he was being honest. This is the best that our Global Britain can do. We can do deals with people where we bend over for them and say, hey, would you like some lube as well? That's the best we can possibly do at this point, especially with the people we've got in charge. You want to go about how good this country can be, it's as good as the people who are running it. And it is shit, because that's who's fucking running it. 2-year-old boy, Awab Ishak. He died as a result of severe respiratory condition caused by prolonged exposure to mold in his home. This was in 2020. He died in December 2020. His father repeatedly raised issues with Rochdale borough-wide housing, and no action was taken. In the UK, in December 2020, a 2-year-old child died through prolonged exposure to mould. The borough did nothing. There's no punchline here. It's just, if you were looking for a punchline, his father came over from Sudan in 2016, and potentially this is the Brexit way of killing all refugees over to this country. It's like Farage's plan. Kill him as child and come up because he's a fucking arsehole. This is vile. The borough should be held accountable for this, and they will not be. They will not be. We're continuing to show our disregard for anyone who is not a rich person. There is so many more of us than them, and yet we let them get away with everything, where we should be hunting them down, hold everyone to account. No, we never do. We never do. We should, but we never. We can't. We just don't, do we? We just don't. Time and time immemorial, whatever the fucking word is. Nothing's going to be done about that. A fucking 2-year-old child dead from exposure to mould in a supposedly Western first world. Oh, fucking God save our gracious king, eh? Maybe we should change it so that God, who doesn't exist, protects the people who can't protect themselves. It'd be that, you know. The meek shall inherit the earth. But if you look around, I think the meek are being fucked on that particular deal, don't you? Wages are rising at the fastest rate in 20 years. What fantastic news, what brilliant news, the news that we all needed. However, if you've watched more than one of these, you'll understand that I don't give good news to you. So wages are rising at the fastest rate in 20 years. Good. still lagging way behind the soaring cost of living, of course. So it means that you're not. The regular pay has risen by 5.7% in the year to September, which is the fastest rate since 2000. I was going to say 2000, but that would have been wrong, wouldn't it? 2000. But when adjusted to rising prices, it's actually down 2.7%, because that's how numbers work. So you're going to hear a lot from MPs who will tell you what great news this is and what we're doing. Wages under us, oh, they are rising, to be sure, flying to the air. And not once are they going to mention the fact that if you take into account the cost of living crisis that we've got, which is the worst in 40 years, that wages are actually down. Your money is worth less. That's the truth of it, but you won't hear that. Because everyone's, as I say, they're used car salesmen. All they're trying to do is, they may as well be trying to sell you fucking Bitcoin or some other con. Employment rate has rose by 3.6% in September from 3.5% in August, which is still like a 50-year low. But the Bank of England have claimed that unemployment will probably double by 2025. Cost of living, big recession, all of that bollocks. But do not worry, you're going to be paying more tax and you're going to have services that are going to be worse. So that's something to look forward to. We've got over 8 billion people on this planet now. And so the argument between overpopulation and whether it's just overconsumption will go away. But it should go away because it's both. We've got too many people and we're too greedy. And so we've got people who are starving and there's just too many of us. Get rid of a number. I mean, if you want, I'll give you a list. I can get a list together and we can just get rid of them, and then everything will be better. Although it will be a long list and it will be about 8 billion people. Germany, and I think this is the final story. Yes, final story, but it's quite a long one. Germany has become the latest European court to leave the Energy Charter Treaty. Slovenia exited earlier in the week. France, Netherlands, Spain and Poland have all left, and the UK is now one of the last big economies in the ETC. Now, the issue with the ETC is that it has secret courts, which you should know that there are secret courts out there. It's why the concept of democracy, equality, freedom, all of this is meaningless bullshit that we tell ourselves. It's a lovely lie that we give ourselves, but it's horseshit. Most of it's made up conceptions anyway. There's no actual thing that's justice in this world. It's something that we have to believe that there is in order not to just pick up a gun and end our lives. So secret courts, this particular court system allows fossil fuel investors to sue governments for big money, hundreds of billions, and has been accused of institutional bias, self-regulation issues, and conflicts of interest, which are the three big things you want for a court. It was set up in 1998 to protect the energy firms operating in the former Soviet Union. Countries from it was there to stop government dodginess. So you look at like Russia and you see all the oligarchs and all of that. It was an attempt to stop that in former Soviet countries. Did not work, of course, but these secret courts give companies the right to seek compensation if legislation. Please, let's have a fucking drink now. If legislation and policies are brought in that could be seen as hostile. Now, when they claim hostile, what they mean is that companies could lose money. That's what they mean. Tobacco industry had this, where they sued countries, including African countries, when they tried to stop people dying from cancer. This was it has been signed by more than 52 countries. Oil, gas and coal firms have been awarded more than $100 billion by the ECT tribunals. You've seen a rise in cases brought forward because of the countries that are trying to curb emissions for in line with the 2015 Paris Accords. And this has seen a number of claims brought by companies rise dramatically because we're trying to save the planet, but companies are trying to make money. And what companies are able to do is, if a government brings in a law that curbs emissions as an attempt to stop the rise in climate change, companies can sue them. Which seems wrong, doesn't it? It seems dodgy. This is where we are. This conception that we had for years. We've seen it with the rise of fascism coming back. I am not of the belief that we'll ever get fascism back. I don't think that will happen, because one of the main parts of fascism was everything under the power of a country. All of the companies are under the power of a country. We will not get that, because companies are too powerful now. Far, far too powerful. So the only way we will get fascism back is not with companies being under the power of countries, but with countries being under the power of companies. And we're heading that way anyway. I mean, we already see the lack of care the massive companies have for the rule of law in any particular country. They don't even pay tax in most of the countries that they work in. And so there has to be something done with it, but our MPs, our politicians are under their thumb anyway, lobbying money and everything. It talks, money does talk, it needs to stop, but I don't see it, because no one has a fucking backbone for it. Just to add another side to this story, final bit, is that renewable companies have also brought forward cases, because everyone's a cunt. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. If you are about tomorrow in Aldgate, come down to Comedy Under Siege at the Castle. We've got a fantastic lineup. Really is a good comedy night that I run, but I don't get lots of audience because I'm not good at the marketing side. But it's a good laugh. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you later.